Here's how to use the lesson library feature along with the Smart Tutor program. There's a couple ways to do it, and I'd like to point those out now. First is you want to focus on your child's trouble spots. And the second area is to reinforce critical skills. We're going to talk more about both of those, and I'd like to get hands-on now and show you with the program how we can apply these. The first area I'd like to talk about is what we call the trouble spots area. These are the areas that your child is struggling with. And there's really two ways to determine that are fairly obvious. But one is they're struggling with homework. They're struggling with areas that you're working on them with, and you detect that they're just not getting the concept or it's not clear to them. The other area is actually using the Smart Tutor program to determine through the use of the reports if they're struggling with a particular lesson within Smart Tutor, or you can even use the assessment results, the initial assessment results, to focus in on those areas. If, for instance, they're lower in phonics, maybe you want to tee up some additional phonics lessons for them to be able to really focus in and fill that gap. So these are the two areas I want to talk about. Let me address the first one. My son is in the 4th grade, and he's taking long division at this point. My wife called me and told me that he was basically shut down and that he couldn't do his homework assignment because he had no clue how to do long division. So I said no problem, I'd come home. So I went home and got on the program and went into the 4th grade library for math and assigned him the 2 division lessons that are there. He then sat down, he went through both lessons, he did well, and then when he was finished with that, he sat down and finished his homework in a breeze. So, nice, because what happened was the system uses explicit instruction, taught him exactly some math concepts and division, and then showed him specifically how to do the long division process itself. He got practice, and then he successfully finished the graded activities, and he had it down. So that's the first area that we took, and we actually used the lesson library to address a problem area. I'd like to show you how we did that actually hands-on. Alright, when you log into the system, you're in the parent area, and the first selection is the lesson library. So I went ahead and I click on the lesson library, and then it gives me the students that I'm going to be working with. In this case, I'm working with Wyatt Baker, and I would go ahead and just click on Assign Lessons for Wyatt. You'll notice that there's a grade level indicator there. This defaults to Wyatt's grade level, again the 4th grade, and then I can select Math. This will now take me into the lesson library. You'll notice once there that I can actually change the grade level and go to any grade level I want, and I can also select a different subject if I want. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and find the division lesson, and you'll notice I'm clicking on the division lesson, but I find out as I move across here that there's actually 2 lessons in what we call a lesson set of lessons for division. So if I go ahead and I check mark it and then click on Assign Lessons, I'll then have assigned the 2 division lessons that I wanted Wyatt to take. It's as simple as that. When Wyatt gets on the system, he's going to see an icon that's going to say Lesson Assignment. He'll click on that, and the lessons will come to him automatically. So that's how you'd actually apply lessons for trouble areas that you are aware of. Another way to find trouble areas is by use of the reporting in the Smart Tutor program. As your child is going through the program, the assessment has placed them at the appropriate level that they should be able to be successful at. So what happens is you go through and you actually run the reports called the progress reports on instruction. You'll be able to see the grades that they get on the graded activity within each lesson. And what you can do is go down that list and see if there's areas where they actually fail lessons, or if they're struggling with lessons, not getting good grades. And you can turn around and go back into the lesson library and allow them to repeat those lessons once again, getting that explicit instruction so that it really builds the stronger skill level. So that's the areas, that's how we attack the problem areas, what we call the trouble areas, trouble spots. The second area that I want to talk about is the area of actually going into the system and reinforcing skills. Which skills do we reinforce? Well, a good example is math again. In 5th grade, students need to be able to know fractions very well and all functions within fractions, and also they need to know decimals. And so one exercise that I did with my older son last year was when he was in the 5th grade, is I went into all the fraction lessons and all the decimal lessons, and I let him do the fraction lessons first and made sure that he was really strong in subtracting and doing all the things with fractions that he needed to do. And then when he got into decimals, I actually went in and I got the lessons, the decimal lessons from the 5th grade, put him out there, and I had him go through those. He did quite well in that area. I was a little concerned. Sometimes that's difficult for students, but he breezed right through it because of that reinforcement that he got from that. So you can do that with the language arts and the vocabulary area. It's very critical for good fluency in reading is vocabulary. So you can just go in and select these lessons as you see fit to just understand that, gee, there's some areas they struggle with, there's some areas they need to be really strong at, and those are the areas that you may want to consider putting out for further reinforcement. So those are the uses that we recommend for the lesson library, and enjoy the program.